The Vellani people had ruled the stars for 10,000 years. Their cities were made of crystal and light. Their ships could cross the galaxy in days. They believed they were the greatest species in the universe. They believed no one could stand against them. Then they met the humans. Kira Velthanos was only 200 years old, which was very young for a Vellani. She had silver skin like all her people, and eyes that glowed soft purple in the dark. She was curious about everything, which her grandmother said was dangerous. Curiosity had caused many problems for their family. Tonight, Kira stood in the Hall of Forgotten Things. This was a place deep under the capital city, where the Vellani kept objects they wanted to forget. The walls were dark stone, and the air was cold and still. At the end of the hall was a vault made of black metal. No one had opened it in 1,000 years. Kira knew what was inside. Everyone knew, even though no one talked about it. The sword. Her uncle Maver appeared behind her. He was old. His silver skin faded to gray. He walked slowly, and his voice was tired. "You should not be here, child," he said. "This place holds our greatest shame." "I know what it holds," Kira replied. "The sword of the human warrior. The blade that belonged to Admiral Velkarn's enemy." Maver closed his eyes. "That weapon killed many of our people. And the man who carried it, he was something we had never seen before." Kira had heard the stories. 1,000 years ago, the Vellani Empire decided to conquer a small planet called Earth. The humans there had only simple technology. Their ships were slow. Their weapons were weak. The Vellani thought the war would be easy. They were wrong. The humans did not surrender when the Vellani burned their cities. They did not give up when millions of them died. Instead, they fought harder. They built new weapons. They learned to use the Vellani's own technology against them. They attacked with such anger and determination that the Vellani could not understand it. The war lasted 3 years. By the end, the Vellani had lost 40 worlds. Their greatest fleets were destroyed. Their best warriors were dead. The humans had not just defended themselves. They had pushed back. They had won. When the Vellani finally begged for peace, the humans agreed. But they never forgot. And the Vellani never stopped being afraid. The sword was taken from a human soldier named Thomas Chun, Maver said. He was not a general or an admiral. He was just a sergeant, a small leader of a small group of men. But he killed more Vellani than anyone in history. With this sword? Kira asked. With his bare hands when he had to. With rocks and broken metal. With anything he could find. The sword was just his favorite weapon. Maver shook his head. We finally killed him on Vela Prime. It took 4 battlecruisers to bring him down. 4 of our greatest ships just to stop one human. Kira stared at the vault. She could almost feel something behind the door. Something waiting. Why do we keep it? She asked. To remind us. Never wake the sleeping humans. Never give them a reason to fight again. But now there was a new problem. The Keth Dominion had arrived at the edge of Vellani space. The Keth were insects, huge and cruel. They did not negotiate. They did not make treaties. They only conquered and killed. The Vellani fleet had already lost 3 battles. 6 of their worlds were burning. The council had sent messages to all their old allies, but no one answered. Everyone was afraid of the Keth. Everyone except, perhaps, the humans. Kira had suggested asking humanity for help. The council had refused. They said it was better to die with honor than to beg mercy from the species they had tried to destroy. Kira thought that was stupid. The humans could save us, she said to her uncle. They defeated us when we were strong. They could defeat the Keth now. Perhaps, Maver said. Or perhaps they would watch us burn and laugh. We earned their hatred, Kira. We earned it with blood and fire. That was 1,000 years ago. Humans do not forget. Kira said nothing. But in her heart, She made a decision. 3 days later, she returned to the Hall of Forgotten Things. This time, she came alone. This time, she brought tools to open the vault. The door was heavy, but Kira was determined. She worked for 2 hours, cutting through locks and breaking codes that had not been touched in centuries. Finally, the vault opened with a hiss of old air. Inside was a simple metal box. Kira opened it with shaking hands. The sword was ugly. That was her first thought. It was made of iron and carbon, dark gray metal with a simple handle wrapped in old leather. The Vellani made weapons of light and crystal. This thing looked like something a primitive creature would use, but when Kira picked it up, she felt something strange. The sword was heavy, not just in weight, but in meaning. It felt like it was full of memories, full of anger and courage and loss. She wrapped it in null cloth, a special fabric that blocked energy signals. Then she ran. Her ship was waiting at a private dock. It was small and fast, not registered in any official system. She had been planning this for weeks. The journey to human space would take 12 days. She would have to cross through territory controlled by the Keth. If they caught her, she would die. If she reached the humans, they might kill her anyway. But Kira did not care. Her people were dying. The council was too proud to save them. Someone had to try. As her ship lifted off and shot toward the stars, Kira held the ancient sword in her hands. She did not know why, but she whispered to it, "I am returning you to your people. Please, help me save mine." The sword did not answer. It was just cold metal in her hands. But deep inside the blade, in a place where science could not reach, something stirred. Something that had been sleeping for 1,000 years. Something that recognized the stars. And something that remembered. Kira had been flying for 4 days when the Keth found her. Her ship was small, barely bigger than a shuttle. It had no weapons and only basic shields. She had been hiding in asteroid fields and gas clouds, trying to stay invisible. But the Keth had scouts everywhere, and one of them spotted her engine trail. The Keth ship was massive. It looked like a black insect with sharp legs and glowing red eyes. It moved through space like a predator hunting prey. Kira pushed her engines to maximum. Her ship screamed through the void, but the Keth were faster. They were always faster. A beam of red light shot past her window. Then another. The Keth were firing warning shots. They wanted her to stop. They wanted to capture her alive. Kira knew what happened to prisoners of the Keth. She would rather die. She changed direction suddenly, diving toward a small moon. The surface was covered in craters and sharp rocks. If she could land there, maybe she could hide. Maybe the Keth would lose interest. But as she entered the moon's shadow, her sensors screamed a new warning. Another ship was coming. A big one. Kira's heart sank. 2 enemies now. There was no escape. Then she saw the markings on the new ship, and her breath stopped. It was human. The human vessel was huge. It was not elegant like Vellani ships or terrifying like Keth vessels. It was brutal, ugly, covered in armor and weapons that looked like they were designed to cause as much damage as possible. The ship was dark gray, and on its side were words in the human language. TPS Iron Wolf. The human ship moved between Kira and the Keth. A voice crackled over her communication system. It spoke in Galactic Common, the shared language of all species. Keth vessel. This is the Terran Protectorate ship Iron Wolf. You are approaching human space. Turn around now. The Keth did not answer with words. They answered with weapons. Red beams shot toward the human ship. Kira expected the Iron Wolf to dodge or retreat. Instead, it flew straight into the attack. The Keth weapons hit the human shields. Kira waited for the shields to break. They did not break. The Iron Wolf fired back. Its weapons were different from anything Kira had seen. They did not shoot beams of light. They shot pieces of metal at incredible speed. Simple, primitive, devastating. The Keth ship exploded in 3 seconds. Kira sat frozen in her pilot seat. She had just watched a human ship destroy a Keth hunter in moments. The Keth hunter that would have killed her easily. The communication system crackled again. Velani vessel, you have entered Terran Protectorate space. State your purpose or be destroyed. You have 30 seconds. Kira's hands were shaking so badly she could barely touch the controls. What could she say? How could she explain? Then she remembered the sword. She reached into the bag beside her and pulled out the blade. The null cloth fell away. She held the sword up in front of her communication screen, letting the humans see it. I carry a relic of your people, she said. Her voice was trembling. I am here to return it, and to beg for your help. There was silence. 10 seconds passed. 20. Kira thought maybe they had decided to destroy her anyway. Then, something impossible happened. The sword began to glow. Kira cried out and nearly dropped it. The metal was changing color, from dark gray to bright blue. Light pulsed through the blade like a heartbeat. The handle grew warm in her hands. The null cloth was burning. It turned to ash and floated away. The sword glowed brighter and brighter until Kira could barely look at it. What is happening? She whispered. The human voice returned. But now it sounded different, softer, almost like the human was praying. That blade belonged to Sergeant Major Thomas Chun, 3rd Battalion, Terran Expeditionary Force. That sword was made from the hull of the first human starship to reach Alpha Centauri. We thought it was lost forever. Kira looked at the glowing sword in her hands. She did not understand how metal could glow like this. She did not understand how a weapon could seem alive. The blade knows, the human said. It knows it is near home. It has been sleeping for 1,000 years, waiting for this moment. Kira felt tears in her eyes. Her species had taken this sword as a trophy. They had locked it in a vault of shame. They had never understood what it really was. It was not just a weapon. It was a piece of human history, a piece of human soul. Stand by for boarding, Velani, the human said. Do not resist. Do not attempt to flee. You will come aboard our ship, and you will explain everything. Yes, Kira whispered. Yes, I will explain. Her ship was pulled into the Iron Wolf by a tractor beam. She sat in darkness as the great human vessel swallowed her small craft. The sword continued to glow in her hands, warm and pulsing like a living heart. She did not know what would happen next. The humans had every reason to hate her, every reason to kill her. Her people had murdered millions of them. Her people had burned their worlds, but the sword was glowing. The sword was happy. Maybe, Kira thought, that meant something. Maybe it meant there was hope. The boarding ramp opened. Light flooded into her ship. Kira stood up, holding the sword carefully, and walked toward the light. She was about to meet humanity face to face. She was about to find out if they could forgive. The human who came to meet Kira was not what she expected. Commander Elena Vasquez was short. Most humans were short compared to Velani. She had brown skin and dark hair tied back tight. Her uniform was simple and gray, without decoration. But her eyes were what Kira noticed most. They were dark brown, and they studied Kira like a hunter studying prey. There was no hate in those eyes. That surprised Kira. She had expected hate. Instead, there was something else. Curiosity, caution, and something that might have been respect. You are young, Vasquez said. Too young to remember the war. I know the stories, Kira replied. I know what my people did to yours. Do you? Vasquez walked closer. She was not afraid of Kira, even though Kira was taller and could probably run faster. Humans were strange that way. They never seemed afraid of anything. Tell me what you know. Kira swallowed. We attacked your worlds. We killed your people. We thought you were weak because your technology was simple. We were wrong. Vasquez nodded slowly. Then she reached out and took the sword from Kira's hands. The blue glow got brighter. The light wrapped around Vasquez's fingers like it was greeting an old friend. The human commander looked at the blade with an expression Kira did not understand. It looked almost like love. Sergeant Major Thomas Chen carried this sword through 14 battles, Vasquez said. On Vela Prime, your people surrounded his unit. 300 Vellani warriors against 20 humans. Your generals thought they had won. She paused. The sword pulsed. Chun and his soldiers fought for 6 hours. When their guns ran out of ammunition, they used knives. When the knives broke, they used rocks. When there were no rocks, they used their hands. By the end, only Chun was still alive. He had killed 37 Vellani warriors with nothing but this sword and his bare fists. Kira felt sick. The stories her people told were different. They said the humans were savages, animals. They did not say the humans were heroes. Your fleet finally killed him, Vasquez continued. It took 4 battlecruisers, 4 of your greatest warships, firing everything they had, just to stop one man. She looked at Kira. Do you understand now? Do you understand why your people lost? No, Kira admitted. I do not understand. Vasquez set the sword down on a table. It continued to glow softly, like a candle in darkness. The Vellani thought they could win because they had better ships and better weapons. You had more soldiers, more worlds, more resources. By every measure, you should have won easily. She smiled, but it was not a happy smile. But you did not understand humans. You did not understand what makes us fight. What makes you fight? Love, Vasquez said. Not hate. Love. We fight for our families. For our friends. For our homes. For ideas we believe in. When something matters to a human, when we truly care about it, we do not stop fighting. Ever. We do not surrender. We do not give up. We find a way to win or we die trying. Kira thought about this. The Vellani fought for glory, for power, for conquest. They had never understood fighting for love. Your people took this sword as a trophy, Vasquez said. You kept it in a vault for 1,000 years, but you never understood what it really meant. She touched the glowing blade. This sword is not just metal. It carries the spirit of Thomas Chun. It carries the spirit of every human who fought and died in that war. It carries our memory, our hope, our refusal to be destroyed. Is that why it glows? Kira asked. It glows because it is home. After 1,000 years of darkness, it has returned to its people. Vasquez looked at Kira with those sharp, dark eyes. Now, tell me why you really came here. Tell me everything. Kira told her. She told her about the Keth Dominion, about the burning worlds and the shattered fleets, about the Council and their pride. She told her about stealing the sword and flying alone through enemy space. She told her about her grandmother's warnings and her uncle's fear. When she finished, Vasquez was quiet for a long time. The Keth, the commander finally said. We know them. They came to our borders 300 years ago. They demanded that we surrender. They said we were weak. They said they would crush us easily. What happened? Kira asked. Vasquez smiled again. This time, it was a dangerous smile. A smile that made Kira's skin feel cold. They do not come to our borders anymore. She picked up the sword and handed it back to Kira. Keep this. For now, you will need to show it to our leaders. Your leaders? I am taking you to Earth, to the human homeworld. The admirals of our fleet will decide whether to help your people or let them burn. Vasquez started walking toward the door. I will speak for you, but I cannot promise anything. There are many humans who have not forgotten what the Villani did to us. Many who would be happy to watch your empire fall. Kira clutched the sword to her chest. And you? Would you be happy to watch us fall? Vasquez stopped at the door. She did not turn around. I am a soldier, she said. I have killed many enemies in my life. I have watched friends die in my arms. I have seen things that would give you nightmares for 100 years. She paused. But I have also learned that hate is easy. Any creature can hate. Any animal can want revenge. Finally, she turned. Her eyes were softer now. Hope is harder. Mercy is harder. Being better than your enemies. That is the hardest thing of all. She opened the door. Come, Villani. We have a long journey ahead, and your people are running out of time. The human homeworld was beautiful. Kira had seen many planets in her life. Crystal cities on frozen moons. Golden towers floating in gas clouds. But Earth was different. Earth was alive in a way she had never seen before. Blue oceans. Green forests. White clouds drifting across the sky. And everywhere, cities. Not crystal towers or floating platforms, but buildings of stone and metal and glass, pressed close together like families, huddling for warmth. Billions of humans lived on this small world. Billions more lived on the worlds around it. Kira could see their ships filling the sky, coming and going like insects around a hive. There were so many of them. So many humans. Her people had tried to destroy all of this. The Iron Wolf docked at a massive station in orbit around Earth. The station was called Remembrance. Kira did not know why it had that name, but she thought she could guess. Commander Vasquez led her through long corridors filled with humans. They all stared at Kira, some with curiosity, some with anger. None of them tried to hurt her, but she could feel their eyes on her silver skin. Finally, they reached a great chamber. 12 humans sat at a curved table. They wore uniforms covered in medals and ribbons. These were the admirals of the human fleet, the most powerful warriors in the Terran Protectorate. The sword of Thomas Chun lay on the table before them. It still glowed with soft blue light. The Villani killed 4 million human colonists in the first attack, one admiral said. Her name was Tanaka, and her voice was cold as ice. They burned 3 of our worlds before we could respond. Children died in their beds. Families were destroyed. That was 1,000 years ago, Vasquez said. This girl was not even born. Does that matter? Another admiral asked. The Villani kept this sword as a trophy. They celebrated their victory over Sergeant Chun. They taught their children to hate us. Kira wanted to speak. She wanted to defend herself. But she knew the admirals were not wrong. Her people had celebrated the war. They had told stories about the savage humans they had almost defeated. They had never admitted they were the villains. The Villani are dying, Vasquez continued. The Keth are destroying them world by world. Their fleet is gone. Their allies have abandoned them. This girl flew alone through enemy space, risking her life to return a relic and beg for our help. And why should we give it? Admiral Tanaka demanded. Let them burn. It is justice. The debate continued for hours. Kira was taken to a small room where she waited alone. She could not hear the words, but she knew her people's fate was being decided. She held the sword in her hands and prayed to God she was not sure existed. When the door finally opened, she expected to see Commander Vasquez instead. An old man walked in. He was human, with white hair and wrinkled skin. He moved slowly, leaning on a walking stick. His clothes were simple, not military, but his eyes were sharp and clear, and Kira felt something strange when he looked at her. The sword began to glow brighter. You are the Villani girl, the old man said. It was not a question. Yes, Kira replied. My name is David Chun. He pointed at the sword. That blade belonged to my ancestor. Thomas Chun was my great-grandfather. Kira's hands began to shake. She tried to give him the sword. I am sorry. I am so sorry for what my people did. Please take this back. It belongs to your family. But David Chun did not take the sword. Instead, he sat down across from her, moving slowly like old humans do. When Thomas Chun died, he said, he sent a final message to his family. It was recorded on a small device, hidden in his armor. The Villani never found it. Kira said nothing. She did not know what to say. In that message, he said he hoped there would be peace one day. He said he did not hate the Villani. He hated the war. He hated the killing. He hoped that one day our peoples could be more than enemies. That we could learn from each other. Maybe even help each other. Tears fell from Kira's eyes. She could not stop them. The admirals are still arguing, David Chun continued. Some want to let your people die. They say it is what you deserve. They say humans should protect humans and let the galaxy burn. He leaned forward. But they are wrong. This is not about what the Villani deserve. This is about what humanity chooses to be. He smiled. It was a kind smile. A gentle smile. The smile of someone who had seen much pain and had decided to choose love anyway. Humans have never been good at watching others suffer. Even our enemies. Even those who hurt us. When we see someone in pain, we want to help. It is stupid. It is dangerous. But it is who we are. He stood up slowly. Keep the sword. It has done its job. It woke up when it sensed it was home. It reminded us of who Thomas Chun was. What he believed. What he hoped for. David Chun walked to the door. Now it is my turn to remind the admirals. He was gone for 3 hours. When Commander Vasquez came to get Kira, she was smiling. The vote was close, Vasquez said. But the Chun family carries a lot of weight. When David Chun spoke about his grandfather's last message, some of the admirals started crying. Does that mean? Kira could not finish the sentence. Vasquez nodded. The First Fleet is mobilizing 200 warships. The largest human force assembled since the war against your people. Kira fell to her knees. She could not believe it. After everything her people had done, the humans were going to help. Why? She whispered. We tried to destroy you. We killed millions of your people. Why would you save us? Vasquez helped her stand. Because that is what humans do. We fight. We survive. And when the fighting is done, we help the survivors. Even our enemies. She put her hand on Kira's shoulder. Welcome to the Terran Protectorate, little Villani. Now let us go save your people. The Keth had conquered 6 Villani worlds in 8 days. Their war master was called Thaxer the Eternal. He was an insect creature, 3 times the size of a human, with armored skin and claws that could cut through metal. He had fought 100 wars and never lost. His fleet was the largest in the galaxy, and his soldiers would train to feel no fear. When his scouts reported that a human fleet was approaching, Thaxer laughed. The humans, he said to his commanders. Small, soft creatures. They hide in their corner of the galaxy and pretend to be powerful. They are nothing compared to the Keth. His commanders agreed. They had heard stories about humans, of course. Everyone had heard stories. But stories were just words. The Keth believed only in strength. The human fleet arrived in the Vela system at dawn. Kira watched from the bridge of the flagship, unconquered. She stood beside Commander Vasquez and David Chun, who had insisted on coming despite his age. The sword of Thomas Chun hung at Kira's side. It was glowing brighter than ever. The Keth fleet was massive. Almost 400 warships, bristling with weapons. They surrounded the last Vallani world like hungry predators waiting to feed. The human fleet was smaller, only 200 ships. But they did not look small. They looked angry. Human ships were not elegant or beautiful. They were chunks of metal and weapons, designed for one purpose: to destroy enemies. Every surface was covered in guns. Every angle was built for war. "They outnumber us 2-1, Admiral Vasquez said. She had been promoted after the decision to help the Vallani. She commanded the entire fleet now. "Does that worry you?" Kira asked. Vasquez smiled. "No." A communication signal came through. The screen lit up with the face of Thaxa the Eternal. He was terrifying to look at. His eyes were red like blood. His mandibles dripped with poison. When he spoke, his voice was like stones grinding together. "Humans, you have made a terrible mistake. The Vallani are our prey. Turn back now, and we will permit you to live." Vasquez did not move, did not blink. "I am afraid that is not possible. You cannot win this battle. We are greater in number, greater in strength. The Keth have conquered 1,000 worlds. What have humans conquered?" "We conquered the Vallani," Vasquez said calmly. 1,000 years ago, when they were the greatest empire in the galaxy. They attacked us with everything they had. They burned our worlds. They killed our people." She stood up. "We destroyed them anyway." Thaxar's red eyes narrowed. "The Vallani are under our protection now," Vasquez continued. "Not because they deserve it. Not because they asked nicely. But because we choose to protect them. That is what humans do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. Even those who were once our enemies." "Foolishness," Thaxa growled. "You will die for nothing." Vasquez smiled again. It was the dangerous smile Kira had seen before. The smile that made her feel cold. "War Master, you have heard stories about humans. You have heard that we are dangerous. That we do not surrender. That we fight until the last breath in our bodies." She leaned forward. "Those stories are true, and you are about to find out why." The screen went dark. The battle began. Kira had seen Vallani battles before. They were quick and clean. Ships fired beams of light at each other from great distances. The side with better technology usually won. Human battles were different. Human battles were violent. The Terran fleet did not keep its distance. It charged straight at the Keth, engines burning at maximum. The Keth fired their weapons, and dozens of human ships exploded. But the rest kept coming. They did not slow down. They did not turn away. When the fleets met, it was chaos. Human weapons tore through Keth armor. Metal projectiles traveling at impossible speed punched holes in enemy ships. Missiles filled the sky like swarms of angry insects. The Keth fought back with beams and claws and suicide attacks. But the humans would not stop. Ship after ship exploded. Both sides took terrible losses. The space between them filled with fire and debris and dying screams. But the humans kept fighting. They always kept fighting. Kira watched in horror and amazement as a human destroyer, its hull torn open and its engines dead, used its last power to ram a Keth battleship. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire. The human crew had chosen to die rather than retreat. "Why?" she whispered. "Why do they sacrifice themselves like this?" David Chun stood beside her. His old face was wet with tears, but his voice was steady. "Because that is what humans do. When we believe in something, when we fight for something that matters, we do not count the cost. We do not calculate the odds. We simply fight until we win or die." The battle raged for 4 hours. By the end, the Keth fleet was broken. Half their ships were destroyed. The rest were fleeing into deep space. War Master Thaxar's flagship was surrounded by 3 human destroyers. He refused to surrender. All 3 human ships rammed him at once. The explosion lit up the sky like a small sun. When it was over, the human fleet floated among the wreckage. They had won, but they had paid a terrible price. 60 ships destroyed. Thousands of humans dead. Families would weep. Children would grow up without parents, but the Villani would survive. Kira stood on the bridge of a Villani rescue ship, watching the human fleet begin its journey home. The sword at her side had stopped glowing. Its work was done. Admiral Vasquez appeared on her communication screen. The human commander looked tired. Her uniform was torn and there was blood on her face. But she was smiling. Your people are safe, Feilani. The Keth will not return. They have learned the same lesson your ancestors learned 1,000 years ago. What lesson is that? Kira asked. Never make humans angry. Kira laughed. It felt strange to laugh after so much death. But it also felt right. Why did you do it? She asked. After everything we did to you. After all the pain we caused. Why did you save us? Vasquez was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was soft. Because hate is easy. Any species can hate. Any animal can want revenge. But hope? Mercy? The courage to forgive your enemies and help them anyway? She shook her head. That is hard. That is the hardest thing in the universe. She smiled. And humans have always been stubborn enough to try. The screen went dark. Kira looked out at the stars. The same stars her ancestors had once tried to conquer. The same stars that had witnessed humanity's fury and now witnessed humanity's grace for the first time in 1,000 years. The Villani had something they had forgotten how to feel. Hope. The war was over. The Keth were defeated. And somewhere in the darkness, the sword of Thomas Chung rested in Kira's hands, warm and silent. A bridge between 2 peoples who had once been enemies. But now, perhaps, they could become something more. Perhaps they could become friends, and perhaps, Kira thought, that was the greatest victory of all.